tell me, bring us back, because I think a lot of people are interested. What year did you get involved? What's the beginning to where we are now of how you got involved and the journey, I guess.
Okay, so there was a gentleman named Bob Meyerowitz. He's from New York. He owned the UFC, and at the time, you're talking around 2000, 99, 2000. I was involved in boxing, big boxing guy, and my partners and I, the Fertitta brothers, they own Station Casinos in Las Vegas.
Is that made up, the Fertitta brothers?
Yeah, Fertitta.
It sounds like they're from The Godfather.
That's funny. Yeah. No, they're legit guys. They own casinos in Vegas, and we started taking jiu-jitsu together, and we fell in love with it. Right. So we're training 4 or 5 days a week, and I end up training with Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz and John Lewis and all these different guys, and I end up managing Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell. And at the time, I get into a huge contract battle with the old owner, Bob Meyerowitz, over Tito's contract. And basically, we get into this thing, and by the time the phone conversation was over, I knew they were in trouble. So my buddies were down in Florida.
Well, you could just tell by the argument they were making financially?
I said, you owed him X amount of dollars, and you want to make it up, give him the piece of the pay-per-view, and we can make up what you owe him. He said, there is no pay-per-view. There is no money. And pretty soon there's probably not even going to be a UFC.
Okay. What year is this?
He snapped on
around
me.
2000.
Okay.
Yeah, this is around 2000. And so I called the Fertitta brothers. They're down in Miami at the time. And I said, I think we can buy the UFC. And at the time, Lorenzo and I were going to get involved in boxing. And so Lorenzo put in a call to buy Meyerowitz. A month later, we owned the UFC. We bought it for $2 million. So from there, we had this vision. When I went to the fights, you're a fight guy. You're a boxing guy.
Big boxing guy.
So I went to the fights, and we're sitting there watching these fights. And the first one we went to was at the UNO Arena, University of New Orleans.
Right.
And you sit in the crowd, and I looked at it, and I said, man, imagine if we change this, and imagine if we tweak this and that. And I think this thing could be big. And I have always had this philosophy. Never knew if it was true, but I believed it. I truly believed it. Nothing's bigger in this country than the NFL. NFL is massive.
Absolutely.
I mean, and even if nobody watches one football game all season, everybody watches the Super Bowl, man. It's huge, right? Nobody cares about football anywhere else in the world. There's a few people here and a few people there, but nothing really big. In other countries, cricket is massive. You guys are sports guys, right? You guys sports guys?
Yeah.
Tell me the best cricket player to ever live.
I have no idea.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, because you don't care.
Nope.
And neither does anybody else.
I tried to understand it. I can't even understand
it. Not only could I not tell you ever lived, I couldn't tell you one person that's ever participated. And on top of that, the game is without exaggerating, it could take days. Cricket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what language you speak, and I don't care what country you're from. We're all human beings. Fighting's in our DNA, man. We get it and we like it. It does not have to be explained to us, and it works everywhere. And especially if you think about it, some of the most famous human beings to ever live in sports are fighters. Whether it's Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. Think about this. You ask any of these kids these days, do this test. Ask kids. Everybody knows who Bruce Lee is. He died in the early 70s, and everybody knows who he is. Ask them if they know who James Dean is. They won't know who James Dean is, but they know Bruce Lee.
Right.
That's right.
Because as human beings, we're fascinated by who the toughest people in the world are.
How old were you when you took over the UFC back in 2000?
I was 30 years old.
So you're 30 years old, and you had that kind of foresight to realize that really, it's unbelievable.
How did you even know how to manage those guys? I mean, I get it. You were involved in the casinos and boxing.
Well, no, I'd been involved in the fight business since I was 19 years old. And, I believed at one point when I was younger, I used to box, I wanted to be a world champion. Then I found out quick that I really didn't have what it takes.
And you get hit back also.
Yeah. I wasn't that guy. These people that do this and the people that break into the top 5 in the world were put on this earth to fight. That's what they're here to do. I'm telling you, it's the way they're built. It's the way they're made. It's the way they think. And I don't know, I've just always been pretty good at dealing with them, you know? I have over 500 fighters under contract with different egos, personalities, problems.
Who do you talk to the
this and
most
that.
of all 500? Who do you hear from on like an almost daily basis? Or you really hear from a lot?
Probably Ronda Rousey. Probably Ronda and I talk more than anybody. But, you know, it goes inside, you know, Chuck Liddell, when he was there, Chuck Liddell and I talked all the time. Chuck Liddell used to come to my house for holidays, and Matt Hughes would come over to my house for holidays and things like that. So
it just depends on on each one. Because I'm sure of these 500, of course, there are new ones you guys sign that you meet one time. At first, you meet them once.
Right.
You hear about them, and you have people who scout, etc. And when they see you, I imagine they freak out. Like, oh
and
my
there's
God,
some I
Dana
never
White.
meet at all. There's some I never meet at all. They'll come in for a fight.
Doesn't
they'll
work
lose,
out,
and
right.
then right, exactly. So
Let's for the record, just so people know, the UFC is back in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center for the first time ever. UFC 208, February 11th. Very special. I'm very excited to see Holly Holm back in action. She is awesome. Pronounce her opponent's name.
Jermaine.
Full name though.
Yeah, I can't even.
Jermaine
pronounce her
Durand
last
to me.
name. Yeah,
But anyway,
sounds good to me.
Do we know the rest of the cards? The rest of the card
No,
for Brooklyn?
I'm working on it. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm working on it.
And is it safe to
Listen,
say you're going to deliver
yes.
in Brooklyn?
Well, I think that's the thing that everybody, you know, when we go into markets and we sell tickets, sometimes we don't even have the main event, and the place sells out. People have, you know, it's something I'm proud of. We built a brand that people know when we show up, we're going to deliver.
So it's almost as if the sport is bigger than the individuals. If you can sell out before you even announce, like, there's no way they would sell out Mandalay Bay saying we're going to have a big fight on February 9th,
yeah.
right? Like, you need to know before you're going to book your flight and wind up going there. Your sport is so big now that just knowing there's going to be an event here or there or somewhere else, people want to go, and you'll fill in the blanks later.
Yeah, we've sold like 12,000 tickets already over in Brooklyn. Yeah,
And you, of course, set the record for biggest gate ever at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, and I think it's more reputation. We've built a reputation. The UFC has that. When we show up, we're going to deliver. Even we were just in Toronto 2 weeks ago, and the Cormier Anthony Johnson fight fell off the card. And everybody was hemming and hawing and going, "Oh, this card isn't good." Well, you know, Toronto sold out. All the tickets sold out, thank God, because it was one of the sickest events we've ever had. Did you see that?
I did miss Toronto.
Duho Choi and Cub Swanson
No,
and Cowboy Cerrone and Matt Brown. So that fight is airing. Every other network is going with like Christmas shows. This December 24th on the eve, Fox is rerunning that pay-per-view.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
Fox is going to rerun that pay-per-view
on Saturday night.
Saturday night, Christmas Eve. If you already missed the pay-per-view,
right,
do not miss this one on Saturday. It's just, it was so good that we said we have to play this again, and Fox wanted it, so we did it.
By the way, great call by Fox and you guys, because the Saturday night football game's atrocious.
Oh, yeah.
It's Cincinnati, Houston. It's awful.
That's not atrocious.
That's a bad game.
No, it's not. It's a very meaningful. And I'm not. I'm going to actually. I won't watch it live. I'm going to DVR it. I've never watched a UFC fight. I've seen highlights.
This is the one for you to watch.
It's that good.
I'm telling you.
I'm going to watch it.
I'm telling you. Whatever you're doing, instead of DVRing it, watch this instead. At least stay in there for the Duho Choi fight versus Cub Swanson.
It's that good.
Oh my God!
And the great thing for me is I don't even know who wins. It'll be like it's live for me. Yeah.
One of the things that I've always loved about UFC, and we had this conversation on Saturday night because I invited my buddy Ballard over.
Here we go with Ballard.
With Ballard again on Saturday night to watch the girls, watch Paige Van Zandt and Michelle Watterson, and there was and of course there was. It was a big card in general.
Yeah, Sage and Mickey Gall.
Mickey Gall.
Uriah Faber's last fight ever. He retired.
Right, you had Faber's last fight. So it was a big card in general. But as my friend said when we sat down, he's like, I got to tell you, like, my favorite thing about UFC is I don't even care who the card is. I have faith when I watch a big event that the fights, for the most part, will be really entertaining.
Right.
Now,
thank you.